Hey everyone, it's Synth Designer back again with another video. Today I want to talk about Chillsynth chords and how to form them, and I'm going to give you a few different examples on typical Chillsynth chords that you'll find and just the kind of sounds that you can expect to find in Chillsynth music. This is a topic that was requested by a few people, so I'm really hoping this kind of answers some of your questions. Of course, I love to take suggestions on different topics, and I'm always willing to do videos that help the community in any way. So if you have any suggestions, please feel free to shoot me a message or comment down below. So very simply here, I'm going to show you just how to form some basic chords and the kind of theory behind them a little bit. And then we're going to give just a couple different examples on the types of chords that you'll find. So let's just get started with a very kind of basic chord progression here. So what I like to do is just set up the chord progression at first, then worry about patterns later. The reason for that is if you get into patterns too quickly, you're going to get bogged down by the details way too soon, where you want to establish the sounds first. So what I like to start with is just basic major and minor chords. Now, if you don't know what those are, I highly recommend just looking this up online. I'm going to explain it here a little bit, but let's just get started with what you would call a basic kind of A minor chord progression. So that means everything within this chord progression will be within that key, and this is a minor key. So to set up basic A minor chords, as you can hear, we have that kind of chill wave sound already, but I'm gonna just set this up first. So we have this chord, and this is an A minor chord. So how do I know that? Well, these are the notes that belong to A minor. So you start with A, then the next note will be your minor note here. What you can also do is go up to the fifth of the scale. And so I'm not gonna get into scales here, but I know that E is the fifth of the scale, and then you can form your chords that way. So if you were to do A, then say F, you could do the fifth of the scale here, and then add a major chord, because in the key of A minor, the F chord is actually a major chord. So in this situation, I highly recommend you look at the circle of fifths and check out what notes are in each scale, essentially. I know that A minor, I'm doing A minor because it's super simple. It's all the white notes on the piano. It is what's called the relative minor to the C major scale. So C major also has the same notes, but the way it operates is that C is essentially the home note, where A is the home note here. I know this is a lot of information, and I highly recommend you just take a few minutes here or there, every once in a while, just to learn a little bit more about these things. This is really not meant to be kind of a full course on these things, but hopefully you're kind of understanding the kind of basic setup here. So we're focusing only on the white notes here, and I could use any white notes I want. It's just that some will work a little bit better with each other, and I'm going to create a chord progression that just makes sense. So I have A, and then an A minor, and then I have F major, and then I'm going to play around. So there's no necessary rule where you go with any of these chords, but you just have to use the notes within the scale. So let's just go here maybe and see how that sounds. And again, this will be a G major, and I know that again because it contains only the white notes. And then here, I'm going to end off with a D minor. And again, white notes. So we have this chord. So decent little chord progression. So we have basic major and minor chords, but a lot of chill synth and chill wave chords use seventh notes. Now, what is the seventh note? Remember when I mentioned this fifth note here? Well, the seventh note, each scale, whether it's minor or major, has 8 notes in it. So A through A, essentially. So A4 and then A5 will be the 8th note. So we're going to take the 7th note from that scale, which is the G. And this is kind of like, gives it a bit of a jazzy flavor to it. A lot of jazz chords are based on these seventh chords, sorry. And right now, actually, this, I should mention that this is a progression that, or sorry, a preset that is in mono. So we're going to take this off mono. And mono is, of course, just playing one note at a time. So let's listen to it. We got a little bit more of that chill synth flavor now. And let's just listen to it without the seventh note. So you can hear it's got that little bit of a difference here. So let's see if this works again. So it works really nicely, but let's just set these all up as sevenths. So here we have the E. This is the seventh. Of course, F is the home note or the root note. Here we're going to set up with an F again, and then here we have D, so we're going to set up with C. So let's listen to this now. And let's compare it to without all of these notes. So both work really well. That's the thing with adding these seventh notes. They're going to work with or without them. It's just that this adds a different character to it. And I like this a lot. So in this situation, this is kind of one way to form your chill wave or chill synth chords, to have just these sustained chords. As you can hear, this is from my Chill Vibes Volume 2. If you're not familiar with it, go to synthdesigner.com. Absolutely free preset pack among many others that are there for free. But this particular one is kind of a lead, but I like it as chords or a lead. And you can hear there's that distortion. We can take this off as well. Very nice sound. And we can also play with it a little bit to be maybe a little bit more sustained if we want it to be. So or we could just make it simply longer. So say we up the decay a little bit. And that is a very good way of setting up chill synth chords with kind of that intro, as you can imagine, and we can even add a little bit more delay just to kind of fill out some space. So let's go back here and maybe just kick up the delay a little bit, or maybe make it a little bit shorter even. So you can see this is a very basic setup to a chill synth chord progression, but one that is very effective. And all we did here was basic, major, and minor, and then what we did was add those seventh notes. And if you're wondering, okay, but I don't want to do A minor, well, you can transpose this. You can move this anywhere you want. It's just that, say you do this in D minor. Well, this is where the circle of fifths come in. And you're going to have to know which notes are in the key of D minor. So as I open this little chart here for you, you can use any of these circle of fifths on Google. Take a look at just this minor and major scale here. So this is a nice little handy tool that you should have with you at all times. So the outside has all the major scales here with how many sharps or flats they have. And then the inside is their relative minors. So D minor only has one flat. And in this case, it's a B flat, which is indicated right here. If you don't know how to read music, I would just suggest finding a chart with all the available flats and sharps for you. I've written this down somewhere, but I remember this has a B flat. So what does that mean? Any B's we find in here will have to be flattened essentially. And that will be a sharp or B flat, however it's written. Let's just hear how it sounds. The nice thing is, when we transpose this, all of these notes here, this one, and this one, were already transposed to the right spot. So we know that this works. So simply as that. But if we're going to go back, let's just go back to the A minor. We have a nice little chord progression. And what we could do is play around with these chords. Don't feel like you have to leave them in here. The nice thing is, we can do what are called inversions, and you can move any of these notes to any position within the scale and they'll still work. And what I mean by that is you can move a C up one or down one and it'll work the same. So, or, so all these work really nicely. And one way of doing it is you can just take all of these middle notes and move them up one octave. And it works the exact same way. You're just kind of giving it a different flavor to them. So don't be afraid to move these things around. And again, you can move these anywhere you want them. It's just going to change the kind of tone of things. So maybe I want to move, say, this E here, and let's move this D up here. So let's hear how this sounds. This is kind of like got this nice ascending. To me, I don't like that D up there, so let's move it here. I like that more, so we're going to keep that there. And again, feel free to play around with them however you want. Once you form the chords, you can move them anywhere you like. But let's just keep this chord progression now and go back to our original sound here, and we're going to take down the decay again to something like what it was before. And we're going to turn down the delay a bit, just so we're not getting quite as much feedback, and I'll show you why. This is because I'm going to form some patterns here. So this is where I like to turn on the metronome and just play around here. There is no hard and fast rules here. Just play around and see what kind of rhythm you like. And as you can see here, we've created a nice little pattern with kind of basic sounds. Feel free to change up the patterns in any way you like. But we took that very basic chord progression, added some seventh notes as we saw, and then just played around with some of the voicings. And again, feel free to change those up however you like. And we got some cool different patterns here. And you could even use these same chords all over the place. You can start off with those kind of sustained chords that we had earlier and then move into this pattern later on using the same chord progression. You can also change up any of these to whatever you like. I just find that this particular preset works nicely. Again, if you were to use this, turn off mono, as then you will be able to play multiple notes at once. And this is a very basic setup too. feel free just to copy this and kind of play around with it however you like, or just use a saw and set up something yourself in whatever synthesizer you're using. So hopefully you kind of get an idea of how to set up Chillsynth chords now and getting that kind of Chillsynth sound with those seventh chords that are often used in different Chillsynth songs. Let me know down in the comments if you found this video helpful, and if you want to know more about Chillsynth music or any other genre and how to set up some of the songs. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all next time.